Okay, good morning, and I will say welcome to the interesting part of this session. The topic, of course, is reforming public institutions to ensure competitiveness and accountability. I think the Vice President has given us a rundown of all the plans and so on that this present government is doing in that regard. Now, the word reforming, of course, implies that something needs to be done. That means the system is not working as effectively as it should. And one of the things we need to do, we'd like to stress in this session, is what I call the importance of institutions. Putting this ahead of the focus we tend to put on people, individuals, leaders. Because leaders can't do very much on their own without the enabling and supporting institutions. The Vice President was very explicit in it, because at the end of the day, leadership, assume office or take on responsibility with a promise or an obligation to deliver something, to do something. And oftentimes they can't do this alone. They need an organization or some arrangement behind them to make it happen, to deliver. And as we say in Nigeria, to deliver what we call the dividends of democracy. And we're talking about delivering goods and services, but do so in a timely manner, do so in a cost-effective manner, and do so in a sustainable manner. I think we all testify to the fact that our institutions generally fail on this score in terms of timeliness, cost-effectiveness, as well as the sustainability of what they do and so on. So that's what this panel is all about. We've heard the keynote from the Vice President. The next person to talk to us will be what I'll call the key presenter, who's give us some kind of background presentation and give us the example of a country that has done at least some way in reforming their public institutions and so on. So basically share experiences with us, and that will be done by our keynote our lead presenter, Mr. What's his name? Sorry.
Nika Gilari.
Gilari.
Yes.
Nika Gilari, who was the former Prime Minister of Georgia and now advisor to McKinsey & Co. After his keynote, which will take about half an hour or so, we will then come to the panel, and each panelist will be allowed to speak for about 3 to 5 minutes and so on, and then we'll then throw it open to general discussion as well. Depending on how much time we have, we'll take questions and contribution from the audience. But even if we're not able to take all your questions and so on, please remember that following this panel discussion, there's going to be what they call the design workshops. And the first design workshop is actually around the theme of theme of reforming public institutions. So that's where you have the opportunity, to contribute more in depth to the whole notion of reforming our institutions for effectiveness. Now, all members of the panel will be at that workshop, so you still have the opportunity, to contribute effectively. So, without much further ado, I would like to call on Mr. Gilari to give us the background presentation. Mr. Gilari, please.
Can I have slides, please? Yes, excellent. Your Excellency, Mr. Vice President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, first of all, let me thank the organizers of this event for great management and warm welcome. Also, I would like to thank my partners, McKinsey & Company, for allowing me to address this honorable venue and share with you experience of quite a drastic transformation that took place in my country a few years ago. I've been to Nigeria already a couple of times in the past few months. I've met lots of people, I heard lots of presentations, I read a lot about the current situation, and I believe that this is the best and the right time for this country to take a path of transformation and to take on reforms. Why I believe so? Because I believe so because of this similar example that I had that we had in Georgia only a few years ago, 9 or 10 years ago. We had a situation when we had a new government, when we had a newly elected president, when the president was giving a mandate to change everything, anything, when there was a great expectation from the government, when the population was really fed up with corruption, when the population was really fed up how the country was governed beforehand, when the population was giving the mandate to do anything about it to the president and to the government, and when there was a significant economic downturn. All this perfect background for taking on reforms took place in Georgia 10 years ago. Right now, in Nigeria, you have very similar situation, plus you have, I'm guessing, for reforms, a great thing, low oil prices. When you have high oil prices, it's impossible to take on painful reforms. When you have low oil prices for an oil exporting country like it's Nigeria, it's the perfect time to take on reforms and take on those type of transformation which will give a great end result in the future. So, what type of transformation we are talking about? Believe me, a few years ago in Georgia, you had much more worse situation that you have. Can we have a previous slide, please? Than you have in Nigeria now or in many other developing countries in this region. Georgia was quite a low-income country, $920 GDP per capita. Our tax revenue to GDP was only 7%, and plus, please take in consideration that we don't have any oil and no other natural resources, so it was quite a devastating situation. Our GDP growth was going down and down. According to business environment, according to the World Bank's Doing Business report, Georgia was 112th. By the way, back then Nigeria was 170s. It still stayed in 130s and 140s right now. And according to Transparency International, Georgia was one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Georgia was 124th, Nigeria was 136. I think that was the only year when you beat us. If we take in consideration late 90s and early 2000s. I mean, Georgia was, we were one of the worst corrupt countries in the world. I don't believe in cultural corruption. I don't believe in corruption of society. I don't believe in historical or endemic corruption, because if those were true, Georgians would be still corrupt, super corrupt. If there was a World Cup in corruption, Georgia would be a world champion every single time. Yeah, we may play Nigeria in 2000, whatever it was, 3, but we would still win, I guess.